All right, so we talk a lot about the long-term viability of Twitter as a service. The company has made a lot of changes in recent months to improve, or at least attempt to improve, its user growth. One thing is very clear right now, that less than 1 week into the new Trump administration, we see that Twitter is actually playing a huge role in helping President Trump's cabinet get its message out to the people. Joining us to discuss what this type of attention could mean for Twitter's bottom line as a company is Alex Kantrowitz from BuzzFeed. How's it going, Alex?
Going well. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here. So first, let's start with something easy here by highlighting a more traditional way that Twitter normally tries to pull people in, adding new features. Tell us a little bit about the changes to the Moments tab that they announced today.
So Twitter is changing Moments to Explore. That doesn't mean that Moments is going away. It's just going to have a little bit less real estate in that tab. Twitter tells me no staff layoffs on Moments, same volume, but it's now going to share the tab with a list of trends, search, and at times live video.
Okay, so this is kind of a way that, Twitter has done this a lot throughout the course of at least the middle to the end of last year, really kind of trying to tighten up the experience, clarify it for users. Hopefully it takes some of the confusion away from new users and brings people in. That's the traditional approach. Another way is to get influencers on your platform. And dare I say, the Trump cabinet might be some of the biggest influencers on the service at this point. Explain why you say on BuzzFeed that this is the first Twitter presidency.
Well, I think it's interesting to see that this administration is looking at Twitter not just as a publishing tool, which I think is largely how the Obama White House looked at it, but as a listening tool as well. You see both of Sean Spicer's first two press conferences, when he walked in to speak with the White House press corps, they started off with Twitter. The first one, he talked about tweets he didn't like. The second one, he said, hey, I've been checking my mentions over the weekend, and I might not be the most popular press secretary of all time. You also know that they've been monitoring the tweets of the National Park Service and had them actually temporarily suspend activity on the platform because they thought it might have been hacked after it was retweeting photos critical of President Trump's crowd size at his inauguration. So I think that we're seeing Twitter play a role. Of course, Donald Trump wields his real Donald Trump handle with skill, and he continues to tweet fairly often. But the listening part, I think, is interesting, just showing how much influence the platform has from as a feedback channel for this new administration. They're watching it very, very closely, and what's said on Twitter really matters in terms of the way his country is being governed.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about those Twitter accounts that have gone rogue. The National Park Service, like you said, the EPA, NASA. It's hard to tell who's for real, who isn't. Some people are saying that these new Twitter accounts, if they are from people that work for the government, that this is an act of civil disobedience. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. Well, to be honest, I haven't spent much time trying to verify exactly who was behind those accounts, so I can't really comment on that specifically. But I will say that it's interesting watching these pop up. You know that the National Park Service account was followed by over double the amount that the official National Park Service account was followed by. So I would say that that's a pretty interesting situation.
Even in light of all this attention, like obviously Twitter is probably receiving more kind of focused attention, more people following what's happening on the platform right now than in a very long time. Even in light of all of that, you point out that Twitter's practically flat on the New York Stock Exchange since the inauguration in particular. Why wouldn't Wall Street respond to this focused attention that it's getting right now?
People making the news, being on Twitter doesn't change the fundamental promise of that platform, which is it's a place where you can watch the news unfold in real time. The people that were interested in watching the news unfold in real time are going to be on there, whether Trump is on there, whether Sean Spicer is on there, or whether they're not. The people who are willing to watch the news on TV or read about it in the New York Times and don't need to know what's happening in the moment aren't going to gravitate to the platform no matter who's on it. So it doesn't change the fundamental promise of the platform. It's remained around the same amount of users that it has. Even if it goes up to 350 million users, which would be a nice jump, it's not going to change the platform fundamentally from what we have now.
So is that to say that really Twitter, in order to kind of achieve its goal of increasing monthly active users and everything, is just to continue doing the boring stuff, rolling out updates and features that hopefully pull people in? I mean, part of me feels like this is opportunity, right? For Twitter as a company, when you've got this kind of focused attention, how do you benefit? How do you make sure that you benefit from that? Because so many, it's in the conversation every single day, and it's such an integral part of that conversation every single day. How does Twitter as a company kind of make sure that it benefits from that? Is that even possible?
I've been saying for a while now that Twitter's just got to accept where it is. Like, it's gone through the various stages of grieving. It was at denial, where it told everybody, hey, we could be this big company. Then it went into anger, where everybody said, hey, where are the users? Then it went to bargaining. Okay, we create moments. We do live video. Maybe people will come now. But I think at this point, safe to say, Twitter is what it is. It's not terrible. 300 million people use it. It makes over $2 billion a year. But it's time for Twitter to go to the acceptance phase and say that's what we are. And I think the fact that it built its expectations up so high and Wall Street bought it was good for a while. But it's clearly come back down to earth, and I wouldn't expect any miraculous user jump to happen anytime soon, which isn't necessarily to say it's a bad thing.
Right.
They're still going to be vital in the conversation. It's just a matter of what your expectation is for the company.
So as we started this conversation with the fact that Donald Trump has been using Twitter, his people on his cabinet have been using Twitter and talking about Twitter. Let's just imagine that Twitter went away tomorrow. Would they move to Facebook or move to Snapchat or Instagram or something else? Or is there something fundamental about the technology and the UI and just Twitter itself that makes it better than any other social media tool that we have, better in particular for a president like Donald Trump?
I would say that the fundamental nature of that platform is the way that it's structured is something the internet is always going to have. So if Twitter went away tomorrow, you would still need a real-time feed that would allow you to check in with what's happening right now. Facebook has made these moves saying, okay, we're going to become more newsy. And it didn't really work out all that well for them, given the fact that they ended up in the fake news scandal that we just saw they're working their way out of at this moment. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's always going to be a Twitter or a Twitter-like entity on the internet. And if Twitter went away, a new Twitter would take its place, and that's where Donald Trump would hang out, because it is a place to get your message out without a filter and have it boom across the internet very quickly. So I think that you can count on Twitter being around for a long time and continuing to be used the way it is. You can't really get the job done on Facebook or Snapchat the way you can on Twitter.
Yeah, I would say that it would be silly if things moved over to Snapchat, but then I never saw this coming. And so you never know.
Look, I'll just say, don't put your bets on Snapchat. It doesn't seem like that's going to be the one that's going to take over. Look, Facebook's able to copy Snapchat. It has a bigger user base, and it can sell advertisers ads within it with better data. Facebook can't copy Twitter. So I would say if you're going to bet on one or the other, I'd bet on Twitter.
Here's the thing. One of the fundamental differences between Snapchat and Twitter is that you can see the people that look at your story on Snapchat, but there's no way to like or give people thumbs up. There's not just that constant feeding of your ego, which I will say I think is important to some people on Twitter. Maybe it's important to me. Maybe it's important to Donald Trump. I'm sure
it's certainly a part of the equation when you're doing a social network in general. Twitter makes that very beneficial, makes it very obvious to you. And I imagine that's a big pull for a lot of people who use Twitter. That's all there is to say about that. My final question is about advertisers on the platform. Is there any kind of, with any extra eyeballs that might be attracted to Twitter as a result of everything that's going on right now? Is there any extra energy behind advertisers on the network?
Yeah, there is. Digiday this week had a story that said that advertisers are giving Twitter a second chance. And I think somebody came into my direct messages and said something like, advertisers are shifting from, there's like two ways that you can go about this. One is you go to your clients and you say, okay, here's what works. The other is your client comes to you and says, I want to be here, make it work. And I think that's something that's happening with Twitter right now. People are seeing that a lot of the energy is on that platform at the moment, and they want to latch onto it. So this could end up being good for Twitter's business.
Yeah, for sure. Alex Kantrovitz from BuzzFeed.com. Really appreciate, as always, you taking the time to come on and chat with us about this stuff. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Great as always.
Definitely. BuzzFeed.com. Check them out there. Thanks again, Alex.
Thank you.